Well, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. I'm here, Kumar Bhargava, your friendly chairman, and I'm joined by the equally, perhaps even more friendly and certainly skillful vice chairman, Dana Stein, who did a wonderful job on the House floor. Well, he's here someplace. Well, hopefully. He did a wonderful job on the House floor defending climate solutions. And of course, the happy band of misfits that make up the Environment and Transportation Committee. We have how many bills? We have 5 bills today, basically in numerical order, and they are in the following order. Senate Bill 372, Senator Kagan. Senate Bill 44, well, almost numerical order. Senate Bill 44, Senator West. Senate Bill 64, Senator Carrozza. Senate Bill 229, Senator Gallion. And Senate Bill 354, Senator Elfreth. And so the first bill is jointly assigned to economic matters. That's why it's first. And we are joined, hopefully, by delegates Chi, Queen, and Howard. Welcome to our friends from Economic Matters. And so with that, we have what I believe is a sponsor-only amendment. My Senator, Cheryl Kagan. Welcome to the Environment and Transportation Committee. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great to be with you all and so many friends and talented legislators on the ENT Committee. For the record, I'm Cheryl Kagan, along with Delegate Barve and Delegate Gilchrist, also representing Gaithersburg and Rockville, presenting a bill as the cross-file with Delegate Vaughn Stewart, and so that's why I guess we are having the hearing today. We've narrowed it a little bit to reflect something very similar to what Howard County's law is. This is about coal tar. It's a toxic substance that is too often used to brighten up a driveway or a parking lot. It causes cancer and other maladies, and already Home Depot, Lowe's, True Value, Ace Hardware won't even carry it for fear of litigation and vulnerability. 4 jurisdictions, Howard, Montgomery, Prince George's, and Anne Arundel have already banned the stuff because it's so toxic and dangerous. So this would just set the limits in the same manner and at the same level as it is in Howard County law, and that would be a 1% PAH, and that is the toxic chemical we are trying to not have brought inside our homes, brought in on the bottom of our shoes or puppy's paws or something, and making people sick. So it's a pretty simple bill, and I know you guys are familiar with it, having passed Delegate Stewart's version. His version modified to conform with this version just went through second reader today on the Senate floor without a peep. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and good to be with you today.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Any questions for the senator? Well, it appears not. Strangely, I don't have the testimony list for your bill, but it's a bill we've seen before several times. So with that, Madam Senator, I think you'll leave my committee unscathed for
awesome. Now. All right. See you all again. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Next, let's go to Senator West, my good friend. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right. Another sponsor
unscathed. I also hope I escape unscathed, but that remains to be seen.
That right. Okay. Sponsor only 4 minutes. You got the floor.
Thank you very much. This bill for a couple of years has been the #1 priority of the annual advocates in the state. And this year, I think we finally figured out how to do it and do it right. I want to pay tribute to my co-sponsor, I guess cross-file sponsor, Mary Lehman, who has carried on the good fight over in the House. We finally passed this bill unanimously out on the Senate floor about 2 weeks ago. So let me explain quickly what this does. This protects pets outdoors in extreme weather conditions. The summary is the easy one to explain. The bill now only requires shade. When the temperature goes over 90 degrees, if you leave a dog outside unattended for over a half hour, you have to make sure the dog has shade, suitable shade. And the floor, I define suitable shade as sufficient shade to cover the whole dog. So it can't be just a little tiny patch of shade. It has to be enough shade that the dog can lie in the shade. It can be the shade thrown by the house. It could be a barn or a garage. It could be a bush. It could be a tree. Shade would be sufficient. The more difficult issue that we tangled with over in the Senate and we finally resolved was, what about the winter? What about when it gets below freezing outside? And the conclusion we finally came to after much conversation and a number of amendments to the bill was that when the thermometer falls below freezing, the dog must be provided, and the dog is being left outside unattended for over a half hour. The dog must be provided with sufficient shelter. In other words, a roof, walls, and a place where the dog can lie, not in wetness, but on a dry surface. And here's the key. The dog has to be in that shelter, be able to maintain its normal body temperature. So you can't have a dog shivering and freezing to death outside. The owner of the dog must provide maybe straw, hay, something out there in the shelter so that the dog in the shelter can maintain its normal body temperature when the thermometer falls below 32 degrees. That's the bill as we passed it in the Senate. I think I understand that Mary Lehman is willing to have her House bill conformed to the Senate amendments, and I would hope for a favorable amendment. Excuse me, a favorable vote.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got a couple of questions. First question goes to Delegate Siliberte. You need to unmute yourself, Barry.
Yes, now we're okay. Well, thanks for that, but how do you enforce this thing? Who monitors this?
Will it be the
local pet police?
Local control officer, or it could be a local policeman. What happens typically, it doesn't happen in the summer so much, it does happen in the winter. The next door neighbor will hear the dog outside on a bitterly cold winter night. It's pitch black dark outside, and the dog next door is whimpering and crying outside. And so the neighbor will call a policeman saying, you need to check this out. And up until this point, there haven't been hard and fast standards, and the police has not been able to do anything. So with this standard that the dog needs to maintain its body temperature, they could call someone from the local humane society who tests the dog temperature by, well, I won't go into the details, but if you watched All Creatures Great and Small, you saw how it's done. It's quick and easy in order to check to make sure that the dog's body temperature is at a normal level rather than a freezing level.
Would they take the dog away, get him out of that inclement weather, or what?
Well, yeah, if they found that the statute's being violated, they could take the dog to the local humane society.
And the owner
other rules and regulations provide what happens from that point on.
But the owner could get it back, correct?
Yes, and in fact, this is not a criminal bill. This is a civil bill.
Civil.
The first time it happens, there is nothing more than a warning given to the owner. The second time it happens, there's a fine, and in each subsequent occasion, there's a larger fine.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Senator West, thank you.
Okay, next question goes to Delegate Otto.
Thank you, Mr.
Chris,
Chairman.
could you make me a host so I can lower people's hands?
Absolutely.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you,
Carl.
Mr. Chairman.
Carl,
Welcome,
so good to see
Senator.
you.
Thanks for the bill. My concern is I'm involved with a retail establishment and we sell dog houses. It's like a farm store. Tractor Supply is a dirty word to us, but we're a private Southern States dealer. We sell these igloo dog houses that very popular, and we like that. With this, like the dog glue, as we call it, many of you may be familiar with it. Would that qualify to meet these standards?
I think so. All it requires is that you got a roof, and in this case, I guess you'd have a curved roof if it's an igloo. You have walls, and you gotta have a door, and it has to enable the dog to lie where the dog is not wet. So the igloo is not put in a low-lying place where water gets into it. That should be perfectly sufficient.
Well, would I be able to build a lean-to shed next to the garage? And
I don't see
how would the dog get in and out? It's got to be a flapper door or this?
No. There are no. In fact, the amendments in the Senate took out those sorts of more particular requirements. You merely have to have a roof, 3 walls, and, or I guess in your case of an igloo, a round, long round wall, and a door so the dog can get in and out, and there doesn't have to be anything more to the door than an opening. That's it.
Very well. Thank you.
Sure.
Delegate Lehman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I would just like to thank Senator West for, his hard work and his persistence in addressing the, many concerns of his colleagues, including several from rural areas that had a lot of questions. And I think, the resulting product is, a real, genuine example of compromise. I think the language around shade, I am fine with that, adequate shade, rather than shelter, as some folks have pointed out. When it's really, really hot out, a lot of dogs would prefer just shade to being in an enclosure. And so there was a lot of work put into that adequate shade language. And then in terms of the flooring, I know some of the provisions around what constitutes adequate shelter were tweaked to say that, I think our bill had the structure raised off the ground by so many inches to have, straw or other material on the ground to keep the dog dry and help it maintain its body temperature is really important. I think, none of us want to see another case like the one of Oscar in Baltimore County that froze out in the snow. It was just so tragic and didn't have to happen. That does not have to happen anywhere in the state of Maryland. And so just thank you all for the support. And thank you, Senator West. You did a great job.
Thank you very much, Delegate Lehman. I would just conclude by saying this next week, we're going to have our committee dinner, and my skit is centered around the song, "Who Let the Dogs Out?" So
we expect to see a video, Senator. Okay, any further questions for the sponsor of this bill? Seeing none, yes, Senator, you have left relatively unscathed. So let us turn now to Senate Bill 64. Senator Carozza, welcome to the committee.
Well, thank you, Chair Barve and Vice Chair Stein and members of the House Environment and Transportation Committee. For the record, Senator Mary Beth Carozza, representing Worcester, Wycomico, and Somerset counties. And I'm here today to ask for your support of Senate Bill 64 as amended, the Beach Erosion Control District. This legislation has been requested by the town of Ocean City. And this bill exempts the repair, renovation, reconstruction, or expansion of an existing structure owned by the state or by the mayor and city council of Ocean City from the existing prohibition against construction within the beach erosion control district, as long as the project does not result in any significant permanent environmental damage to the district as determined by the Department of Natural Resources. My friends and colleagues, under current law, any construction activity with some specific narrow exemptions is prohibited in the beach erosion control district. So what that means is that under current law, certain important Ocean City facilities cannot be repaired or replaced, including the Ocean City Amusement Pier, the Ocean City Inlet Parking Lot, and the Ocean City Life-Saving Museum. Senate Bill 64 as amendment would provide a mechanism to repair, replace, and with specific limitations, add on to these existing facilities with the approval of the Ocean City Mayor and Council and the Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources. The bill only applies to existing facilities owned by the state or Ocean City. And Mr. Chair, the immediate need for passage of Senate Bill 64 as amended is to bring the Ocean City Life-Saving Museum into compliance with the Federal Americans for Disabilities Act and other fire safety codes. The bill takes a responsible approach on allowing this priority project and other projects to move forward by making clear that it applies to existing facilities only, must have the approval of the Ocean City Mayor Council and the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, and must not result in any significant permanent environmental damage. And I respectfully ask for a favorable report of Senate Bill 64 as amended, and also invite you, Mr. Chair, and your members for an adventure to visit the Ocean City Life Saving Museum in the future. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your kind consideration.
Thank you so much. And thank you also for giving us a $1,000 stipend on the trip. Yeah, we would love to come and visit you in Ocean City, Maryland. And I know that Cornbread will be happy to welcome us, as he always is happy to welcome us. So, all right. Any questions for the sponsor? Delegate Clark, Jerry, ask your question, please. You need to,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How you doing today, Senator?
Good to see you.
I wish I was down there walking around with some French fries and
oh yeah,
up there looking off the pier right.
Splashers, great stuff.
Just one quick question for you. Earlier we passed out House Bill 1300, which is basically somewhat of the same thing. Would it be an issue of merging these bills together or making them conform with each other?
Thank you for the question. I understand that the House and Senate councils have already talked, and I've been in contact with Delegate Wayne Hartman, the bill sponsor on the House side. And as I understand, we worked out, and the Delegate Hartman was okay to amend HB 1300 so that it's identical to SB 64. So both bills would pass. So my understanding that's being worked out, and I, would appreciate the support for both those bills.
Thank you very much. And when I get down there after session, maybe we'll go to dinner at Fausto's one night.
There you go. And again, the invitation, Mr. Chair, is a sincere one.
Oh, absolutely. I was just making fun of you there.
We could take the whole committee along.
That would be awesome. Yeah, no, we're the committees that travel together stay together. I believe that. So, all right. Well, it appears that's the only question. So, Senator, thank you very much, and please have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay. So, Trish, have we found Senator Gallion? Apparently not.
But Senator Elfreth is available, so you can.
Oh, yes, I see her. Okay. All right. Senate Bill 354, Senator Elfreth. Welcome to the Environment and Transportation Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's so good to be here. First time in quite a while. I am bringing you Senate Bill 354, which is the cross file of the Vice Chair's bill dealing with the integrity of the Bay Restoration Fund. This committee, I know, is very familiar with that fund. Last year, there was a bit of an incident with one of the grantees. And we had quite the debate on the Senate floor. I know it came up in the House as well about the appropriate use of the Bay Restoration Fund, the taxpayer-funded Bay Restoration Fund. And last year, through the budget, through the Bertha, we put into law that a private facility could only a project could only be funded 50% with the BRF. We've kind of sat on it over the course of the interim, thinking more about what is the most appropriate use of the BRF. And this bill is the result of that. So still keeping the 50% for private projects, because there is merit to a number of private projects that have a public good, and we tried to spell that out in the bill, but also ensuring that if that private project has a recent history of environmental violations, that they would not be eligible again for taxpayer-funded Bay Restoration funds. We put another amendment in the Senate. There's a little bit of confusion with one project in Hancock in Western Maryland that's currently in the budget to be funded with BRF, just to make sure that that project would not be impacted. It's a private company that's working with the town of Hancock, so it's still a publicly benefited project, but we wanted to make sure that that project was protected regardless of this bill. But at the end of the day, this is about the integrity of the Bay Restoration Fund. And this committee knows the great work we've been able to accomplish over the last 2 decades using that fund. Now, if I'm asked the question, I'll say I think there are plenty of other programs for private companies to seek assistance, revolving loan funds. There's a ton of money coming in the federal infrastructure bill. Bay Restoration Fund, a grant, I don't think is appropriate unless it has that publicly facing benefit. And so, Mr. Chair, there might be one more clarifying note. We just heard from MDE this morning. We might need another clarifying note for that Hancock project. But I think this is a continuation of the work the committee has done. And I want to thank Delegate Stein for his leadership on it to ensure the integrity of this incredibly important fund. And with that, I ask for a favorable committee report.
Okay, thank you, Senator. We have a couple of questions. The first is from the Vice Chair himself. Dana, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator, thank you so much for all your work on bay restoration. I think actually you answered my question. You said that you are working with MDE for this tweak on this one project. So, okay, we'll look forward to getting that language.
We will get it to you as soon as we receive it from MDE. Yep.
Okay, next up, somebody who I like to call Jerry Neutron. Jerry Clark.
Yeah, Senator, can we use that Bay money to build a nuclear? No.
No.
Nuclear reactor? No. Just a quick question. When you talk about private, or would that be like a small private subdivision that maybe was having a lot of failures with septic systems, and the county if the county stepped in to help them to connect them to a system, they would still be eligible, even though it's a private community?
They would, but the Bay Rest, per the BRFA last year, that's a current law, they would only be eligible for 50% of the funding from the BRF. And as long as they have, according to this bill, that publicly facing benefit, which I think you're speaking to, I have a number of mobile home parks in my district that are on septic that would greatly benefit from being tied into the system and would have the benefit for the community and the benefit for the Bay. They would still be eligible under this bill by meeting the criteria. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Senator Alfreth? Okay, that's it. Sarah, you're free to go.
Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Good to see you. Is Senator Gallion with us?
Not yet.
Well, let's give him a little bit of time before we cancel the public hearing. Let's take this time up with announcements. We're not going to have a voting session today. So that's my announcement. Any other announcements? Well, that's a blessed silence, isn't it? Okay. Jokes, quips. Yes, Delegate Foley.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand, but I was just going to make a joke about your asking for jokes and say, we're all joked out, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
We used all our lines the other night. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I would love to see that Who Let the Dogs Out video from their committee party in whatever committee he's on. I can't remember which one, but well, we'll give Senator Gallion another couple of minutes, maybe until 2:26. The Senate isn't. Is he in the waiting? You know, you snooze, you lose. Okay, so I'm going to conclude the public hearing, and I will see all of you on the floor when at 4 o'clock. Is it 4 o'clock? Yeah, 4 o'clock. See you then.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, could I just well, first I want to acknowledge Delegate Anderton has Milton back in the house, so I really appreciate that. But then also, on a more serious note, Environment Subcommittee will meet after hearings tomorrow.
Okay. Any other subcommittee announcements? All right. In that case, we're adjourned. See you soon on the floor.